Breaking news. The national ledger tonight, the Middle East is once again on edge, after a dramatic overnight escalation involving the United States and Iran. According to officials from the United Arab Emirates, defensive systems were activated. After reports of incoming missiles believed to be connected to Iran, the developments come just hours after U.S. officials claimed that Iranian forces targeted 3 American guided missile destroyers. Traveling through the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most strategically important waterways in the world, with a major percentage of global oil shipments passing through the region every single day. Following the reported attack, the United States responded with military strikes, targeting multiple Iranian military facilities. Despite the rising tensions, President Donald Trump attempted to downplay the severity of the latest exchange. During remarks to reporters, Trump described the confrontation as relatively limited and suggested the U.S. response had already demonstrated overwhelming force. However, his comments also included a warning directed at Iran, saying Tehran should move quickly toward an agreement, before the situation becomes even more dangerous. At the same time, Saudi Arabia is now publicly calling for de-escalation across the region, fearing that continued military exchanges could trigger a broader regional conflict involving neighboring Gulf states. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, speaking from Italy, said the United States is expecting a response from Iran regarding a proposed peace framework that has reportedly been delivered to Tehran. But inside Washington, criticism of the administration's handling of the conflict is rapidly growing. Democratic Congressman Pete Aguilar questioned whether the White House has clearly explained its long-term goals to the American public. According to Aguilar, many Americans are now focused on the economic consequences of the conflict, especially rising fuel prices and the growing financial cost of military operations overseas. He argued that the administration has failed to clearly communicate what victory would actually look like, or how the conflict eventually ends. The debate comes as energy markets continue closely monitoring every development in the Gulf region. Although oil prices saw only limited movement after the latest missile exchanges, analysts say investors remain nervous about the possibility of further escalation around the Strait of Hormuz. Even temporary disruptions in the area could have major consequences for global shipping, energy markets, and inflation worldwide. Military analysts also say the situation highlights how difficult it has become for the United States to maintain stability in the region without triggering wider retaliation. One major concern now centers around maritime security. The U.S. recently attempted operations aimed at protecting commercial shipping routes through the strait, but reports suggest those efforts face logistical and diplomatic complications with regional allies. Experts warn that if safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz cannot be guaranteed, global supply chains could face significant pressure in the coming weeks. At the same time, international attention is turning toward President Trump's upcoming trip to China. Analysts believe the White House had hoped tensions with Iran would already be under control before the visit, allowing the administration to present a stronger position on global security and energy stability. Instead, the latest military exchanges may raise difficult questions from both allies and rivals about America's long-term strategy in the Middle East. Some foreign policy experts argue that Iran continues to use the Strait of Hormuz as strategic leverage against both the United States and global markets. Others warn that without a clear diplomatic breakthrough, the risk of further confrontation remains extremely high. For now, the world is waiting to see how Iran responds to the latest peace proposal, and whether the current fighting will slow down or escalate even further. We'll continue monitoring every major development as this story unfolds. For the latest international news, global conflict updates, and geopolitical analysis, subscribe to The National Ledger and stay informed. Thanks for watching.